Some days I feel like I speak eloquently. Today's not one of those days, just be warned. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. 2017 is almost over, so I like to use this time of year to look back at my reading year, and in today's video I'm going to do exactly that and look at the rereads that I did in 2017. You know what I mean. As I said, I'm not that eloquent today. In chronological order, I'm going to take you through my rereading year of 2017. The funny thing is that I only started rereading books halfway through the year. I only started rereading in the summer. So the first two books I'm going to show you are books that I reread over the summer, and that is the first two books in the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson, the thriller, mystery, crime series that I have fallen in love with. Even though I'm a Scandinavian, I don't really tend to like crime books, but these ones are amazing. And obviously I'm planning on reading the last book again next summer, so that I will have concluded the trilogy. But so far I reread these two. I realized that I loved them as much as I did the first time around, and the movie is actually, or the movies I should say, are just as good. Even though that's very seldom, I feel like the books are amazing as well as the movies. So this is one series I recommend that you look into if you have any interest in it. In September I had the honor of meeting Paul Auster and Siri, and I did a vlog about it, so I will put the link to that one down below in case you haven't checked it out yet. But for that reason, I was in the mood to reread some of their books. Paul Auster is, after all, one of my favorite authors, so I reread one of my favorite books of his, Invisible, and I loved it even more than I did the first time around. This is so splendid. It's a book that is told from different narrators, different points of views, which was very intriguing. I remember this was the first book I ever read when I was a teenager, which has a split in the middle when it comes to the point of view, and I found that very fascinating. I also reread The Blindfold by Siri, and I was confirmed in the fact that I'm not that much into Siri. I feel like her books are very depressing, and they put me in the mood of as I said, not eloquent today. They put me in a state of mood in which I don't feel very well, and I get that that's the ambience that she is most probably going for, because this one is about a woman who is ill, mentally ill, and it's about her experiences and how she views the world and other people while being mentally ill. But it was still a good read. It's a 3-star read for me. And then I also reread another of Paul Auster's, and that is his first autobiography, Hand to Mouth. Hands down, a really good autobiography. Next, I reread 2 books for work, because I plan on reading these with my students. So yeah, I'm one of those teachers who ask for my students to read books. I know I'm so horrible, but basically we have here We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, as well as The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Both of these were good. I will say I prefer this one because it's about an autistic boy, and it's about his view on the world and how he feels and thinks, and it's such an interesting story. And this one is about 4 liars who meet on this island every summer, and there is a big twist coming which we don't see coming until the end. It's more of a 3-star read for me, whereas this one is more of a 4.5 star read for me. And then I decided to reread one of my absolute favorite books of all time, and it was such a pleasure. And that actually goes for the next 2 books, which are books that I love. So the first one is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one is about a group of college students of Greek who have a secret, but once again it's one of those mysterious novels that tell you about this group and really introduce you to those characters, but then it turns into a story with hints and mystery, and you are very intrigued to find out what has been going on. And it's just beautifully written. This book has one of my favorite literary scenes in it, which contains cold and being left out and not feeling too well, feeling cold into the bones of you. And the next one I was talking about is, of course, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, one of my all-time favorite classics. I think this was the third time I read it, and it was once again a genuine pleasure. In 2017, I also reread from books 3 to 6 in the Harry Potter series, but actually I didn't read books 3 to 5. I listened to them on audiobook while coloring in my coloring book, as you do, but then I reread the physical format of the 6th book, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So of course I do hope to get to the 7th book in 2018 because I want to, and because I feel like I'm always in the mood for Harry Potter. So I'm pretty sure that will happen, but I'm not making any promises. And obviously this was a pleasure to read again. The next book is kind of a funny story because the first time I read it, it was a library book and I only enjoyed it, but I didn't absolutely love it. But then this year, for some reason, I felt the urge to reread this book. So I bought a copy for myself and I reread Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And this one, I absolutely loved it. I appreciate this book so much for its creativity, its originality, and it's just an amazing story about video games, and it's very much about the 80s as well. And I just really loved it. So this time around I gave it 5 stars as far as I remember. Another reread of mine, which I freaking love, is John Steinbeck's East of Eden. This one was kind of a wavy reread, if that's what you say, because while reading it I wasn't too sure about it. I wasn't sure that it was still one of my favorites. I felt like it was dragging a little bit too long, but then I made it halfway and we are introduced to the 2 twins, which are the best part of the story. And also some of the other characters are some of my favorite literary characters of all time. I am thinking of Kathy and I'm thinking of Lee. So after all, when finishing this book and finishing that ending, I was convinced that this is still one of my favorite novels of all time. But I will have to say, Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck is even better than this one. So he just writes so amazing books, and next year I'm definitely going to read more of his. I am down to the last 2 rereads of this year. The first one is a classic, and that is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a reread that made me love the book even more. The first time I read it, I was a little bit unsure about the crime aspect of it, and I felt like it was a bit too much of a mystery novel, which I'm not that much into. So the first time I gave it 3.5 stars. This time around I upped it to 4.5 stars because this novel is beautiful and I really appreciate it for everything it is. I love the intricate story, I love the characters, and it's just a really good read for those wintry months. So I'm very happy that I decided to reread this one. And then the very last book I have to talk about is the book I'm currently rereading, and I'm almost done with it. So I feel pretty confident that I will be able to finish it before this year ends, and that is Commonwealth by Anne Patchett. This book is just purely amazing, and rereading it the second time around just confirms that for me. It's cleverly written. I will have to say the hardest thing about reading this novel is all of the characters, because there are so many of them and you really have to focus on who is who and who belongs in what family. But once you do that, this book is so worth it, and I love it to pieces. And that is it for my list of books I have reread this previous year, and I have a feeling that next year is going to be even a bigger year of me rereading, because I love it. Rereading makes me love reading even more, because they are books that I know I'm going to love, and I love rediscovering things about them that I didn't discover the first time around. So I'm most definitely going to reread even more next year. Without making any promises, I think that's what's going to happen. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and until my next video, happy reading or happy rereading.